So, in the midst of really terrible news, I live for like the Hope Core videos and like, here's some positive news in the swirling storm of dysregulated nervous systems. So 22 beagles were recently rescued from Ridgeland Farms, a facility that breeds dogs specifically for laboratory testing. Not so fun fact, beagles are commonly used in research because of their small size and gentle temperament. Fucked up. Many
Mm.
are kept in indoor kennel systems and raised in controlled environments, often without exposure to a normal life outside of the facility. Are you ready for this? Get your tissues. Get your tissues. The rescued dogs are now being transitioned into foster care and adoption programs where they'll experience things like grass, toys, and human companionship for the first time.
Oh, that's so nice.
This situation highlights the ongoing roles of animals in testing and why awareness around animal welfare and cruelty free alternatives continues to grow. And then in the same slideshow of photos, there's companies that are against animal test or that have banned animal testing and companies that are still animal testing. So we'll include them in our video. The edits that are being made of this group of individuals that broke into this beagle facility,
Saw that.
they're so epic. They've got like what is it? The big steppa. Da-da-da-da. And the leader of the organization, he was arrested. He was arrested as the organizer of it. And they
Hmm.
don't like, they did not in the clips, they did not fuck around with breaking in. They're like taking fucking crowbars,
Oh
smashing in
yeah.
windows, going in and get.
Oh yeah. No, for sure.
So,
They did not care about any sort of property damage whatsoever.
no.
No,
So,
not at
just
all.
thought that was a nice little Hope Core story.
Hope core before the horror core.
Right.
Because holy damn, like let me tell you, May, listen,
Mhm.
years like this year, just it all comes together and the universe just confirms to me that I was meant to be a horror fan. Because May of this year is an insane month for horror movies. And these are just 4 of them, let alone any of the other smaller movies that might not be getting these like big releases or as much, hype or frontline news, etc. So, we're just running through the month because I'm so excited for these movies. So, May 1st, Hokum is coming out. I've talked about it before. It's directed by Damien McCarthy, who did Oddity, which I believe I've also talked about before here. Watch that movie. Creep me the hell out. I watched it again a few weeks ago and it still scared me.
Mm.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is so creepy. I love it so much. And then May 15th, we have Obsession, which is directed by Curry Barker, who did Milk and Cereal, which is not cereal like the breakfast cereal, but
Mhm.
cereal like serial killer.
Mm. Mm.
And I believe it's a short film done by himself and another guy. And I think I watched it on YouTube, but it might be on Amazon now. I might have to confirm that. But, I thought it was interesting. And the concept for this movie looks very interesting. So I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Hell yeah, let's go.
Mhm.
May 22nd is the movie Passenger, directed by Andre Overdahl, who did Troll Hunter and Autopsy of Jane Doe. If you like found
Okay.
footage movies, Troll Hunter is a very good choice. I really like that movie. And Autopsy of Jane Doe, which I think we've both seen, both talked
Mhm.
about. Great movie. Such a good movie. So very much looking forward to that one. It reminded me of, oh darn, of course I can't remember the movie now, but it's an older movie about a family that's driving down. I think it's like Dead End is the name of it. But it's like a movie from
Mm.
literally like either 2000 or like 1990 or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's this concept of they're stuck on the same road over and over and over again. So I'll
Ugh,
be very
be
interested to see
horrible.
what this Passenger movie and how that differs from it.
Mm.
May 29th, Backrooms, directed by Kane Parsons, who is a British American YouTuber who's known for his short films, one of which, and the most famous of which, being The Backrooms, which he made himself at 16 years old. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have started to dig into the lore of The Backrooms, not necessarily within the context of that world of The Backrooms, but like
Mhm.
what is the Backrooms and how did it get to becoming a full motion picture movie? And it's really cool. Like it started as this just one image that then transformed into people writing just stories and lore based off of this image, which then many people, including Kane Parsons, took and made their own little short films around it, and it just kind of grew and grew, became video games, now becoming a movie. So it's just so cool to see how to see it grow in such a fashion. And it's just it warms my soul, as obviously I figure I could speak for you too on this as well. As AI haters, it warms my soul to see something like this be made, especially where its origins come from a place of such pure creativity. Like, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. This is a literal example of that. Literally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love like the whole concept of backrooms. I love, like those like creepy clips like floating around on TikTok, Instagram, people that have like generated all of that. And I'm like,
The liminal spaces of it all.
yes,
Ugh.
yes. And the uncanny valley feeling of like you're not even supposed to be watching it. The fact
Mhm.
that a film is being made that, oh my gosh, even just from the trailer, I'm like, it just projects it so well. I'm so excited.
I'm very excited, and it's got a really good cast too. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's gonna be a solid movie, so I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to it. So all of just those 4 movies in that 1 month, I, on another tab, have, like, an AMC A-List subscription pulled up because I am so close to
Yes.
pulling the trigger on this, even if just for the month of May. Like,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
even just for that month, I'm like, to be able to see all of these movies and not pay over $100 to do
Mhm.
so would be incredible.
Yeah, and then, like
Whew.
like I had mentioned earlier, you get rewards for it. It's like you get
We're
$5
not gonna
rewards.
promo it. We're not getting
Yeah.
paid by them, so we're not gonna
No,
go
no,
into
no,
all the
no.
here's their perks. But
But
no,
if you're gonna
me
pay for a
personally.
if you're gonna pay for a subscription, it's like, this one's worth it.
And you enjoy going to the movies, that's also an
Yeah.
important thing. Like, even if it's a slow month, you gotta find those
Mhm.
movies to go to.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like that's a subscription I can see myself fulfilling.
Yeah.
But I already saw that it's going up in price by, like, $4 in 2 months or 3 months, so I'm like,
Mhm. Oh, for the summer.
yeah, once it
Mm,
hits July. And so that makes me like, grr.
yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, we'll see. Along with movie updates, we also just today, when we are filming this, on April 23rd, we got an Evil Dead Burn trailer. And it's more teaser than trailer, I guess you
But
could say, but a trailer is a trailer is a trailer. Holy damn, like, this is what
oh.
I need. This is how you promote a horror movie or a movie,
Mhm.
period. Simply, I literally was just watching a TikTok about from, like, one of the horror influencers I follow on TikTok, so I don't wanna, like, take the words out of her mouth, but it really does, like, just place you right in the middle of this scene that seemingly is a one shot, which
Mhm.
is really fucking cool. So that, first off, all right, you have my attention. And then everything going on in the background, the chaos surrounding this person that's crawling on the ground. Like, oh my God, if this is just a preview of what this movie's going to be, I'm sad. I'm sold.
Like,
Speak no more.
they didn't give away the plot in the trailer.
No.
We have no idea what
Mm-mm.
led up to that point.
Yeah. And that's why,
Amazing.
honestly, this is our first look that we're getting at this movie. So I honestly don't think I'll even watch any future trailers that come out because there's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
more. There will be
Yeah.
more. Hopefully, it doesn't ruin it. But you can't be too careful. Either way, I love an Evil Dead movie. It got me in the mood, and I watched Evil Dead Rise earlier.
Nice.
I love
Nice.
this movie. I love the Evil Dead movies, with the exception, might be a hot take, Evil Dead 2013. I could leave it. Take it or leave it, I'd leave it. Like,
Yeah.
personally for me, I wasn't a huge fan of it. It had its good parts, but overall,
Mhm.
it was just kind of like,
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like, that one was definitely I don't know, the tones were just so different between Evil Dead Rise and yeah.
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 I feel like the Evil Dead 2013 stepped away from the camp too much.
Yeah.
And Evil Dead Rise did it just right.
Just
Like,
right.
it's scary, it's creepy, but it's also, like, the things that are coming out of this this demon's mouths,
I
are
know.
crazy.
I know.
And just the amount of, like, vomit and viscera
Yeah.
and just nastiness, like, yeah, I love an evil
Mhm.
movie. And then a movie that I just watched earlier this week that I really enjoyed, that I've been waiting for, like, a couple years now, was Shelby Oaks. And I remember seeing promotions for this movie and being very into it because it's a found footage movie. And I said, "Okay, you have my attention. I love a found footage movie, even the bad ones." Sometimes not the bad one. Oh, not always, but sometimes. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was really cool. My only critique, and it's really just a personal preference, so I can't even call it a critique. I wish it's part found footage, part, I guess, typical cinema is what you would call it. Like your typical movie where you are behind, like, from behind the camera, all that. Not behind the camera, sorry, that's a found footage. If I'm getting my point across, it's your typical movie where you're not in any single POV, you're just watching a movie. And I wish there was more found footage in it. Like, I was really hopeful that we were gonna stick with this one kind of plot line, which we stuck with the plot line, but we didn't stick with the POV. I wish it kept with a certain tone, I guess. That kind of went another direction, but I didn't overall dislike it for that reason. So I did like it, though. I liked the story. I liked how it went by. It didn't drag at all. I thought the end was good. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, gotta say. Yeah, and I think that one is streaming on Hulu. So go watch
Mhm.
that. Go watch that. And with that being said, welcome back to Blood Books and Binge Watching. I'm Megan, as always, joined by Rachel, and we are so freaking pumped to get started on this series. I have been waiting so patiently and impatiently. So, in case you missed it, at the end of our Hunger Games episode, we are double dipping with our series right now. So, we started the Hunger Games, which is excellent so far. We are definitely loving that. And go check that out if you haven't listened to it. But we are also starting another series, if you will. They may not be connected, so to speak. And they definitely range from movie to TV shows, but they all have one common denominator. They are all directed by Mike fucking Flanagan.
He's such a powerhouse, man. I don't
I
yeah,
words can't
yeah.
express. I have been such a Mike Flanagan fan. I want to say for the last, because I don't want to overshoot. I would say since like Hill House came out
Mhm.
for sure.
Yep.
Like when I saw that, I said, "Who directed this? Who did this? I love them now." So yeah, after Hill House, I was like, "Yeah, I need to watch more of this guy's stuff." Come to realize, I had already watched some of one project of his, which was Oculus, and so after I watched Hill House, I realized I'm like, "Oh, who's Mike Flanagan?" Looked him up, found Oculus, which I'd already seen. I was like, "Oh dang, no way, that was really good." And yeah, just wow, Hill House destroyed me like no other. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But Oculus, I really enjoy this movie, and I really, really like rewatching it, especially this most recent time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe I had not seen it, and I was, like, reaching back in the depths of my horror journey, which I would say started in middle school, and I was like, "I swear I've seen it before," but as it kept going, I was like, "I've never seen this." A million out of 10 stars, like, I just finished rewatching it this morning, and so I'm still, like, kind of like, hungover, you know what I mean? To where your brain chemistry, just everything you're doing throughout the day, you just keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
A and yeah, my unintentional first encounter with Flanagan was Doctor Sleep.
Oh.
That was my very first encounter with him because I watched that movie and I hyper fixated on it. I loved it so much. And then when I watched Hill House and I found out that's who directed it, I was like, "Oh, no fucking wonder."
Oh, is that why I feel this way?
Right.
No, but the fact that, like, how you say, like, you've just been thinking about it and whatever comes up
Mhm.
in, like, your day to day as you live throughout your day after watching one of his projects. It's so
Yeah.
true. Like, they stick with you like no other, whether it's music drops or
Mhm.
certain like the way certain things are cut, certain lines. Like,
Mhm.
there's so much that he does so well that it really does stick with you and is like forefront of your mind for days afterwards.
And
It's
he also has just set the bar that every new every new piece of media I watch and you can't even compare it,
no.
but he set such a bar that it's like,
Mhm.
who even dares to step?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it definitely makes you think, like, we had our little Stranger Things hate train for a couple
Mhm.
hours all those weeks ago, but
God,
but
God.
like it really does make me sit with these streaming services. Like, how
Yeah.
does something like Stranger Things, which is horror based, like, you cannot sit here and tell me that you are watching
Mhm.
Stranger Things but you won't watch Haunting of Hill House.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Y
Y
No. So, it's just seeing things like that, just it's the stigma of horror, but also I'm like, it's just so much better
I
and so much
know.
more well done with, like, so much more heart, at least as we got to the end of things. I don't wanna really compare them and
Yeah.
bash it,
Right.
whatever. But, yeah, it's just very interesting to see the variety of things done by a streaming service and how certain things will get pushed and popularized and others are certainly popularized, but within their own fandoms. Hill House is one of those. We're talking about Hill House a lot, but we're not here to talk about Hill House at all, actually.
Right.
We're here to talk about Oculus, and then with a sprinkle of Absentia. So I want to kind of start with Absentia because it came first. Because we're not jumping the gun as much as we're talking like we're jumping the gun. We're not going for the greatest hits. Like, we're gonna do this right. We're starting at the beginning, and everyone has their start. The short stories, college projects, self-funded films, and Mike Flanagan's directorial history started in 2000 with a student film called Make Believe, followed by Still Life in 2001, and then Ghosts of Hamilton Street in 2003. Now, I have not watched those. From what I found on Reddit, they can be difficult to find, but I don't want to say they are if I haven't actually tried myself. So, if you want to go watch those, by all means, feel free. I might. I just didn't in preparation for this, so sorry if that makes me a bad researcher. And then we jump to 2011. Flanagan releases his first directed feature film, Absentia, which is where we will be starting our series. So, Absentia was funded via crowdfunding on Kickstarter and debuted at Fargo Film Festival. Now, without going beat for beat, Absentia follows the story of two women who are sisters, Callie, who is a former addict, and Trisha, who's a pregnant woman currently in the process of declaring her husband, quote, dead in absentia. And what that means is essentially a presumption of death, even in the absence of evidence proving the person has died. So it's when someone goes missing for a prolonged period of time, and if their family, for whatever reason, needs to declare them deceased. That's kind of the process that they have to go through. And as it is with lots of horror media, there's more to it than creepy creatures and jump scares. Paints a picture of the challenges and collateral damage that can come from loving an addict. Mike Flanagan is a recovering addict himself, and many of his works have a lot to say on the topic in many different ways. So declaring someone dead in absentia is unimaginable. Like, Trisha has a moment with Callie where she tells her the imagined scenarios she's kind of made up in her head to try to make herself feel better about the whole thing. And, like, she imagines he's a spy at one point because that's just easier than thinking he's dead or abandoned her. And those open-ended questions are often very hard to live with, and even harder when it relates to your loved ones. I talk a whole lot in therapy about just how much I love open-ended questions as someone with anxiety. So, yeah, just very, very difficult situations. And how this ties into addiction is addicts can often disappear and reappear at random, and understandably, this could put a lot of stress on the people in their lives. And Flanagan uses this death in absentia to help the viewer relate in a different way if they haven't necessarily dealt with addicts in their lives directly. So, like, personally for me, I haven't dealt with any of these kinds of scenarios personally. So this is kind of, these kinds of stories and his kind of storytelling are definitely successful in getting those messages across as someone who hasn't witnessed it firsthand. So Trisha sees Daniel, who is her husband she's declaring dead. She sees him everywhere as she tries to move on with her life and take those necessary steps. And when she sees him appear to her, he's got these very brightly lit eyes. They're almost like reflective. And that's a Flanagan staple for you. That will keep coming up. And so overall, the disappearance, reappearance, and disappearance again of Daniel is Flanagan's way of showing us the despair addicts' loved ones can be thrown in all different emotional directions, while displaying that the addict isn't necessarily causing the struggle on purpose. So a lot of these kinds of points that I made, I do want to reference an article by Jen Adams from 2001, and she writes about her experience with a similar situation, declaring her own husband dead in absentia. And the site is certifiedforgotten.com/absentia. We'll make sure to link all that. And I found it to be a very very intriguing read, especially after watching Absentia as well and being able to kind of reflect on those different things that I might not have caught on to. So, addiction and recovery are two themes that will continue to come up in Mike Flanagan's projects as we continue on in the Flaniverse. So, definitely plenty more to come. So, yeah, we didn't want to go plot for plot with Absentia, but I did watch it. I thought it was a very interesting concept, and I definitely recognized a couple people that may or may not show up again in his projects, because what a world. It has that very independent film look. It brought me back to when I like started filmmaking and doing that kind of stuff. Not that it looks like the trash I was making in high school. It looks a lot better than that. But it just has that tone, and it's also a reason why I was really looking forward to
Mhm.
watching his projects in chronological order to see how his storytelling and filmmaking develop. Not only as he grows with his projects, but also the size of said projects and the money available to him for them, and how he can utilize that to just make these things bigger and better than ever. And he's working on two different things. He's filming The Exorcist right now.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
And they finished filming Carrie a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
And Samantha Sloyan is playing Carrie's mom. Are you
Oh my
joking me? Are
gosh.
you joking?
He's just yeah, I think that he's I wanna say he's coming out swinging, but he's been swinging.
Oh, he
I don't even know what to call this, like, level up that he's doing. It's
Yeah.
like
It's like he what is it? He, like, he didn't punch through the glass ceiling, he just, like, he melted it
right,
and rose from its molten ashes.
right, right, because we've seen his work. We know it just like, every piece of media I've seen of his is spectacular, and he somehow just, like, makes each new project even better. But it's still, like, the past pieces still hold such a special oh my god, yeah. He's a
Mhm,
magician. He's a
mhm.
fucking wizard.
He works a magic with a pen and camera, let me tell you. So what we are going to go plot for plot for is with Oculus. So this is his
Mhm.
first feature film directorial debut. And Oculus came out in 2013. So this was directed and written by Mike Flanagan, also written by Jeff Howard and Jeff Seidman. And Oculus stars Karen Gillan playing Kaylee, Brenton Thwaites playing Tim, Katie Sackhoff playing Marie, and Rory Cochrane playing Alan. And fucking Katie Sackhoff. One, I've
Holy
not to
shit.
toot my own horn, I've met her, and
What?
I met her
How
at a
fuck
Comic-Con. I paid money to meet her. It wasn't a fun little on the sidewalk deal.
oh,
But yeah, she's so cool. She's so nice. I love so much that she's in. So when I watched this forever ago, probably when it came out in 2013, I was like, oh my God, Katie Sackhoff. I had gone and I'd been watching like Battlestar Galactica probably. And I'm like, I love you, Starbuck. And so I watched Oculus and she's
and,
so
you know,
good.
she and Alyssa Sutherland from Evil Dead Rise, I think that they
Oh,
resemble each other so much. Can you imagine them in a movie together?
no, because I wouldn't be able to tell.
Like
They would be able to do a Sinner scenario and actually be
yeah,
just the cousins, not twins. But even twins, they could
yeah.
do that. Like, it's
I had
insane
to
how much.
check myself. I had to check myself when I was watching. I was like, "Is that?" I was like, "No."
Yeah, they look shockingly alike. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
We'll put up a side by
Side
side
by
because it's
side,
nuts.
and they equally capture that creepy mother dearest
Oh, yes.
energy. So,
So well. And so speaking of then looking alike, my God, what a casting just slam dunk with Karen
mhm.
Gillan playing Katie Sackhoff's daughter or grown up daughter. Like, my God, listen, it might just be the redhead, but
Phenomenal.
yeah, so good.
Phenomenal.
So young Kaylee is played by Annalise Basso, who we will see later in Flanagan's works. And young Tim is played by Garrett Ryan, who I do not recognize, but we may see him as well come back later. So let us begin with the plot of Oculus. So, a young girl and boy watch through a cracked door as their father walks around the home with a gun in hand. And so they try to escape out the front door, and the boy sees this woman standing in a dark room with glowing eyes. Right off the bat, we
Right off
got
the
him.
bat.
The father finds the kids and holds a gun to their heads, but it's not the same man, it's a young man instead. And the camera cuts, and it's the same young man, but in a therapy session, and he's describing this dream that he's had. And he mentions that it's never been him holding the gun before, even though it's a dream he's had many times. And so it's his doctor. He's talking to his doctor, a therapist, and he says it implies a true, deeply rooted acceptance of responsibility. And he's shown to be telling this to a committee of people. And so the doctor says that this young man, who is Tim, is no longer a danger to himself or others and should be discharged on his 21st birthday. So Tim has been in some kind of mental institution locked up for some reason. And we cut to Karen Gillan. And also, I just want to make sure that we understand. So his doctor is translating this like dream about him wanting to shoot his younger self as a deeply rooted acceptance of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting interpretation there. Also, don't know that I don't know how that would be acceptable to put forth in front of a committee as to like if someone should be released from an institution.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. So we cut to Karen Gillan, who plays Kaylee, and she's walking into an auction, and she's here to see the bidding of the Lasser glass. The frame and mirror are in good condition with the exception of a small crack down on like kind of, I think it's the upper corner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so Tim's doctor is stressing that it's very important to reconnect with his sister Kaylee and more important to focus on his own recovery. And he mentions that, quote, she's been doing this on her own. And so we're getting the sense something clearly traumatic obviously happened when they were kids. Like we saw their dad, what we presume is their dad, was walking around a house and tried to kill them. That's fucking traumatic. But why is Tim then in an institution and Kaylee is not? What's going on? So we see that the Lasser glass is sold and Kaylee leaves. Tim is released and Kaylee's there to pick him up, and they've been reunited now after many years apart. And Kaylee's like all in to help Tim adjust to his new life. She's got apartment listings, but offers for him to stay with her and her fiance. And Tim explains that he kind of needs solitude and separation from her, or he needed solitude and separation from her, which is why they haven't seen each other in many years. So Kaylee was visiting him in this mental institution until she wasn't able to because he took her off the guest list. But now they're just both happy to be together again. So it's kind of one water under the bridge, so to speak. Kaylee says that she found, quote, it, but not that it. And she's been on the hunt for about 1.5 years, and that it will be shipped out soon, but they'll have enough time to kill it. Okay.
Mind you, she's telling him this right after he's discharged from psych.
Yeah.
Right after. She's like, hey, I know you've been ignoring me. By the way.
Hey, you want to know what I found? Like, girl, you know that thing that you've been locked up for the last however many 11 years, as we're about to find out?
Can you imagine? Because she takes them to lunch, right?
Yeah.
They're like at lunch. Like, hey, you're going to come stay with me. It's going to be great. But
yeah, Kaylee doesn't believe in healthy boundaries or thought processes at all.
No.
And that's going to be a huge part of this movie. So, yeah, we're cutting to 11 years earlier, and we see young Kaylee and a young Tim are moving into a new house with their mom and dad, Marie and Alan. So he is in what will be his office, and he's taking phone calls while the kids play, and Marie tries to juggle it all. She's like, kids don't run. Where should this thing go? Husband, what are you doing? Oh, you're on the phone. And we see like the Lasser glass is now being carried into the house and it's moved into the office. So Marie takes a second to talk with Alan about their finances. And she talks about how they've been opting in for antique furniture instead of IKEA to save money. And so we cut to present day, and Kaylee is dropping Tim off at a hotel. And she says, you promised you'd never forget what happened, even though Tim was 10. Let me tell you, I don't remember a lot from when I was 10. Granted, It wasn't anything like traumatic like what they went through, but
I was going to say, because when you add major trauma into the mix, your brain blocks everything out to protect itself. So it's like,
not to mention the drugs he's probably been on for the last 11 years that probably affected his memory in one way or another. Like,
Mhm.
Who knows? Either way. Plus, just therapy and talking to a therapist about all of this too can skew things drastically.
And this is still 24 hours after he's gotten out.
Yeah,
Not even.
yeah. So she asks for his help and to keep his promise, and then she leaves. So Tim looks in the mirror, and then it cuts to his mother looking at herself in the mirror, and we see that she's looking at a C-section scar. And then back in the bedroom, Marie and Alan are getting cute and romantic. They start getting sexy. And then the camera cuts to that night where Alan finds himself wandering the house. And we get a mild jump scare of the woman that Tim sees in the beginning of the movie. So this like creepy looking woman with the bright glowy eyes is just
Mm.
standing in the background. And it's like such a fast, and this is how Mike Flanagan does his jump scares, the majority of them. They're standing there like how ghosts
Mhm.
fucking do in any kind of like ghost sighting videos, things like that. They're just standing in a corner, standing
And
in a doorway.
the
That's it.
music, the effects that he adds to draw your attention to the presence, it's
Mm,
so eerie because it's not super jarring, right? It's like a wisp, like enough to point your attention to it. And I'm like,
yeah.
God.
Mhm. So in the office, the laser glass is hung, and in the dark, we start to hear whispers before the camera just cuts to present day. So
Mm.
creepy things are going on with clearly with this glass. Kaylee's talking about killing it. What the fuck? And so in present day, Kaylee is asleep next to her husband and she's woken up by a dog barking. So she goes downstairs to check and turn the lights on in her office. And the laser glass is hanging on the wall and she approaches it. She turns around to leave and then her dad grabs her by the throat and she wakes up screaming from a night terror. So her husband consoles her and they go back to sleep. Holy shit.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
next day at work, Kaylee's husband, Michael, asks her to be careful about printing crime scene photos on the work printer. And she tells him not much of anything, but just to trust her. She's dealing with it. Ma'am, you're going to need to explain the murder photos.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Okay?
I also think we're 15 minutes in at this point, and all
Yeah,
of this has already happened.
we are pedal to the metal, man. So later on, Kaylee's supervising the move of the laser glass, and while alone with the glass, she uncovers it and greets it, saying hello, and you must be hungry.
My God.
The mirror's hungry, you say?
It was in this moment I knew I was about to get my shit rocked. I was like, "Oh, fuck."
Yeah, and so the crack is actually on the bottom, not the top of the glass. So she sees the crack and she says, I hope this still hurts. Like, she hates this thing. She hates this mirror.
Oh my God.
And yeah, so in the background, we see that there's two covered statues and they look like they're like covering people or headstone, like something like that. They're kids hiding under sheets, kind of looking. So in the glass, though, in the reflection, Kaylee sees three, and one of them moves, and my ass clenches.
Oh my God.
And she looks back and then looks back again, but the third one is only in the reflection. And then
Oh.
all three of them move, and I shit myself. And then she looks back into reality, and now there are, in fact, three covered figures there. What the fuck is going
So
on?
trippy.
It
So fucking
is
trippy.
insanely. So she walks towards them and removes the sheets from two figures. It's very slow. It's so like,
Also, in this, I just want to give a shout out to this actress in this moment that up to this point, we know these kids have been through some massive trauma, right? This actress embodies like just knowing no fear, right? Because as
mhm,
she's about to do what you're about to talk about, like she has no fear in her eyes at all.
none.
Okay.
It's pure just like challenge. It's pure like I see you. So yeah, she pulls off the sheets to reveal two just like statues. The third one remains and she goes and she's slowly gonna go pull it off. And then the man she's working with like jump scares, startling her and us.
And
And he
us.
comes back. And it's like, what the fuck?
God.
So, and what I love about this jump scare is like it subverts your expectations as to what the jump scare is going to be because it gives so many of them in such a short succession. Like first you see that there's a third and it's like, oh shit, oh that's scary. It's not really jump scare, but it's like it gets your hairs up. You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then you look back and it's not there. But
And the
then you look back
movements
and it is there, and then they move, and then they all move, and then it's like, wait, what's happening? So
right.
yeah, so then you get the anticipation for the first two. So then you're like, oh, okay, weird. And yeah, I just the pacing of it is gorgeous.
He
Beautifully done.
also set the audience up, I feel like, to we expected something to be under that third sheet. We
Mhm.
expected it. And he's like, psych.
Yeah, it's like, you think I'm gonna show you that too
Yeah.
early? Because yeah, after this guy startles her to help her pack up the glass, she looks back, glass figure is no longer there. So the glass is active and fucks with your head hardcore. So Kaylee just looks back at the glass and says, I'll see you at home. You're
Oh,
taking it home? God. What?
fuck.
What? Kaylee is on one, man. So Tim calls her, having gotten a new phone, and says that he wants to talk. So she says to meet him at her. So she says to meet her at the house, but not her home, their childhood house, with all the traumatic memories. Welcome to the outside of the safety of what was your
She's like, yeah, she's
like.
literally like, I'm gonna take this item into the fucking hornet's nest.
Yeah.
We're just gonna
And then
fucking full
invite my
send it.
brother, who's been working through this for the last decade. The man, poor Tim. And so, yeah, not only come face this demonic mirror, but come do it at the scene of the crime.
Because
Man.
mind you, he's probably coming, like you said, he's probably coming off all of his drugs. So it's
I'd
like,
be surprised if they didn't let him out with a prescription.
yeah. But
Whether or not he has them on hand, can't say. I don't think we see him taking any medications at any point. So yeah, we cut back to 11 years ago, and Marie goes to water the plants and finds them all dead and dried out. Alan is working in his office and hears whispering coming from the glass. Then we see Kaylee playing outside, and from the window, she sees this really strange woman like rubbing on her dad's shoulders and chest. So she kind of like, what? And then runs away and keeps playing with Tim because kids have that kind of brain. Yeah. And later that night at dinner, Alan notices, I hate this. He noticed, yeah. So
God.
there's like such mild body horror in this movie, but it's my least
Mhm.
favorite kind of. I can't do teeth and nails. I can't do the teeth and nails. So he like sees his fingernails going to bleed, so he just goes and like gets a bandage and wraps it up. Then Kaylee asks him who the lady was in his office earlier, and Marie's like, "Yeah, Dad." Who's your lady in your office earlier? Because what, that wasn't me. And he merely says, "What lady?" and walks away. And Marie looks, I don't know, like it's humorous. And I'm like, if not that I will have kids, but if I had one and they came running in here and be like, oh yeah, there's a woman with dad, blah blah blah, I'd be like, what? You don't say what woman, you come back here and tell me. So in present day, Tim and Kaylee are at the house and she's brought a dog with her named Dog. And Tim hasn't been here obviously since whatever caused him to leave. So he takes a walk around, reintroducing himself to the space. And we notice that there are plants placed all over the house. And Kaylee says the house sat on the market while she was in foster care and was released to her when she turned 18. So they can sell it once they're done. They go to get the glass and they place it back in the office. Tim notices a hole in the wall and we see there's a booby trap on the ceiling, a kill switch, as Kaylee calls it. And so she has multiple cameras and computers set up in the space to record what is going to take place this night. She takes her place in front of the camera and explains what they're about to do. So she's taken every precaution to prevent losing power, having clear communication. There's alarms to change camera batteries, eat, drink, everything. And she also says that each room has temperature monitoring, and she has asked her fiance to call her every hour on the hour. Kaylee's the fucking villain of this movie. She tells her fiance to call her every hour on the hour because she's nervous to be around her brother after years of him being incarcerated. What the fuck? Even Tim looks at her like, bitch, what? And she's like, I know, I'm sorry, I had to. No, you didn't. That threw me. I'm like, what? Crazy. So the purpose of this experiment is to prove that the Lasser glass is home to a supernatural force that's responsible for 45 deaths in the 4 centuries of its recorded existence. And so Kaylee is in front of the cameras and she's going over the history of the glass's owners and said deaths. One of the women died while soaking in a bathtub and died of dehydration. That's suspicious. And as Kaylee mentions dogs being on the property, one of the family's murder, she zones out and sees her own childhood dog. So the dog that they have is a Boston Terrier, and she sees a golden retriever. And so she kind of starts to check out, and then an alarm goes off, and then they take a break to eat. So she like snaps out of this hallucination, then alarm goes off. She's like, time to eat. It's like, robot? Are you a fucking robot? What the fuck? So they discuss their family history, and Tim says that their father was a sick man who tortured and killed their mother. So we're getting more context here. And then Kaylee slaps him. Okay, Kaylee. She believes their father was a good person, and the glass took advantage of him. So we're seeing how these siblings are very much on opposite sides of this story we're about to find out. So Kaylee gets up and continues listing off victims. She's just like fueling her rage over all of this. And so one of the victims being a woman in 1975 named Marisol Chavez, who dies of hemorrhaging from a miscarriage. You may recognize her as Kate Siegel.
Oh my God.
It was so fun to see her because I did go into this. I'm like, I wonder how early she's going to show up in these. And it's just like,
Yeah.
boom, bitch, first one. It's like, oh,
Right. Right.
makes me so happy. And seriously, this woman looks beautiful as a corpse.
I know. I know.
Come on now. As a ghost and a corpse, you look beautiful. Fuck off. And for those who don't know, Kate Siegel is Mike Flanagan's wife. But other than that, she is an insanely good actress. She's one of my favorites ever since I've started watching a lot of her stuff. She's going to come up in every single one of these projects and stands on her own so fucking good. I love her so much. So Tim tries using logic to show Kaylee that she's looking into this way too much. He's like, okay, these could be explained away. How many of these, are actually mysterious? Like telling her that she's making something from nothing. So clearly years in an institution in therapy have taught him to stick with his logic, and he is very logical in the way that he thinks through things. She then covers their own family. So within 2 weeks of the glass arriving, Marie has a psychological breakdown and is tortured and murdered by their father, if you believe the police reports, she adds. And we see pictures of their mom, and she is not looking good. Their mom went through it. But also specifically saying that Marie went through a psychological breakdown, according to police reports, that would match up as to why Tim may or may have been on a psych hold himself. So we find out, Tim shot his father to death in front of Kaylee. And Kaylee intends to prove that none of the people blamed for these murders, so whether it's her dad's murder or the murders in the past, were responsible. And the supernatural force inside the glass caused them to do it all. So this is where I recall the quote from our dumbass therapist in the beginning of this movie implies a true, deeply rooted acceptance of responsibility. So, it's quite interesting that her motive is to clear them of responsibility, where the last decade, he's been drilled to claim responsibility. That's kind of the inner fight that we're going to have going on with Tim right here. Kaylee tells Tim to simply smash the mirror if he's so inclined, because he thinks that this is insane. So he uncovers it and goes to smash it, telling Kaylee what he's learned about the pattern recognition, etc. And she simply asks him, well, why did you put the stool down instead of smashing the mirror? And he's like, so she says like, oh, well, the glass made you do it. And he's like, no, I chose to do that. So we're on two very opposite sides of the spectrum here. Kaylee now shows the last precaution, a massive blade with like weights on top of it, rigged to fall and break the mirror if a timer isn't reset. And so this next scene, I can't do it. So back in the past, Alan's in his office and his finger's bothering him. So he takes off his bandage and he's like, okay, weird. So then he goes back to typing and he sees the bandage is back on his finger, even though he just took it off. So he tries to take it off, but he can't get it off this time. So what does he do? He grabs a staple remover.
A fucking staple remover.
And ends up ripping off the Band-Aid and his nail with it. And it's awful, and I fucking hate it.
It's horrible.
So he freaks out for a brief second and then just puts another bandage on it and just goes back to what he was doing until he sees a book on the floor. So he goes to get the kids and then reprimands them for going into his office. He's like really checked out. He's very not at home. he shows them the books that are really weirdly lined up on the ground. And he's like, I know you guys were in here and I know you did this. Like, I told you not to come in here. And they're like, we didn't do that. And it's the typical kid thing of they're getting blamed for this supernatural presence and what the presence is doing. So Alan says he hears them messing around in there at night and tells them to stop killing their mom's plants. Huh? Like, and even the kids, they're just like, what?
That's an interesting choice of childhood activities.
Yeah, I'd say, like, stop killing your mom's plants. How would they do? I mean, I know how they do. There's many ways they could do that, but even still, like, he's just in this weird trance as he's saying all of this, and then like shuts him out. So in present day, Kaylee explains that the glass feeds off things and energy, explaining the plants that are scattered throughout the house. She says there's another variable to account for. They had a dog, and this is why Dog is here. So she places Dog in a cage, covers it, and puts it in front of the mirror, and an alarm goes off to hydrate, and then we flash back to their childhood dog in the yard, and he's just laying there with no energy, and I get really sad watching the poor dog. So we see Alan holding a revolver, and Marie tells him that she doesn't feel safe with it in the house. So he assures her he'll keep it empty and locked separately from ammo, as you should. And as Marie walks away, she hears his voice call her a grotesque cow. And she turns back and he's like, what did you say to me? And he's like, I didn't say anything. So she's looking in the laser. Yeah. So she looks into the laser glass and we hear whispers, and then she touches her stomach and then leaves because we've already seen that she's self-conscious about her scar. Marie, I want to give her a hug. Later that night, she wakes up to the dog barking at the closed office door, and when she goes to open it, the dog bites her. And so she's trying to enter the office and it's locked. And then Alan says from the other side that he's just working. In the middle of the night, what? So the whispers start to come back, and then the door opens, and she asks who he was talking to. So she's upset about how absent he's been lately, and they start to fight, and then we see that Kaylee is awake hearing it all. So the next day, Alan leaves to go to a golf outing and asks the kids not to go in the office. And the kids are like, why the fuck would we want to anyway? And later on, the dog is barking at the door again, so Marie's like, I fucking had it, go in the office if you want to so bad. Then the kids hear the dog whining, but now the door is locked, so they can't get to the dog. And by the time Alan's home, Marie says, like, she's tired of the dog and the kids are worried. So we see, so it's been hours and the dog hasn't made any sounds. It's just locked in the office. He opens the office. The dog is nowhere to be found. And so their dog just disappeared. Poof, gone. And so in present day, Tim is trying to debunk Kaylee's memories, saying that their dog died of parvo and their dad took the dog to the vet to have him put down. So we see like a flashback from Tim's point of view where it's like, Marie's on the phone and, she's saying, oh, dad had to go out golfing or something with the dog. And the typical thing you see parents usually depicted doing in TV, where they're just like, oh, gotta take the dog to the vet or to the farm. So we clearly see that they're remembering different things. So Tim is disproving her at every turn, and Kaylee's refusing to think any different than what she remembers. So, like, as viewers, we are also stuck in the middle because we are also seeing it from both points of view. We're like, oh, well, shit. Yeah, Tim, we agree with Tim because Kaylee is clearly unwell mentally with her how much time and dedication and prepping and everything that's gone into destroying a mirror. And then we see Kaylee's side though, because I think there's plenty of evidence to back up the supernatural existence behind this, this glass at this point in the movie. So it's very interesting as a viewer to also be caught in the middle, because typically we have a clear view as to what is like the truth of the movie, So back as kids, Alan is calling Marie crazy. God, we hate to see that. And she's accusing him of hearing voices. He's telling her she's losing her mind. And then adult Kaylee and Tim review when they saw the woman in the office. So Tim is like, dad was cheating, and Kaylee's like, no, I've done the research, I've talked to people, there's no evidence of any kind of affair. He's like, cool, he could have just been good at covering it up. Like, so they're still fighting over every single detail. Everything that Kaylee is monitoring isn't changing, and as they argue, we hear Dog start to yelp in the back, and then Tim just gets sick of it, so he lets Dog out, calling her sick. He's like, you're sick, but you can get help. I got help. I was sick. And so Kaylee then starts to cry, and she's upset because he just let Dog go, and she's also understanding that he's not with her on this. And so she's maybe coming around to believing that she's crazy as well, because as we're kind of finding out, mental health problems may be running a little rampant in their family. So she walks back to the office, and then we see her just kind of breathe this sigh of relief because all of the plants are dead and the cameras are pointing towards each other. So this whole room is like rearranged pretty much. And they review the footage and they see that the entire time they were arguing, they themselves were rearranging the room and the cameras. And they have no memory of doing it.
This is like her excitement in this moment is the eureka moment every conspiracy theorist prays for.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I giggled when she was like, "Yes, I told you. I told you." And then to see that we actually get to see on the footage that whole sequence of
Mhm.
like, fuck, that actually did happen.
So then at this point, we're like, okay, we believe Kaylee now.
Game
All right.
on.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Kaylee.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, like you said, she gets excited. Her theory is proven correct. And then Tim panics because he thinks that he's having a psychotic break. He's like, I'm hallucinating heavily. My God. And so he goes outside to call, but he can't reach them. So the camera cuts, and he's been inside the house the whole time. So like, what the fuck's happening?
Mind
So
fuck. Mind
now
fuck.
that we have the hard proof that Kaylee is correct and this glass is fucking with them, now we don't have to not prepare ourselves. We don't have to be aware of, is it delusion or is it reality? We have to think of, is it the glass making us hallucinate or is it reality?
Right.
So that's now where we're at. So we're now really with our characters. So we're now in a flashback again. And Kaylee finds her mom in the office staring into the Laster glass with the vacuum. So she's like in the middle of vacuuming. And she's just staring. That's it. And later that night, the kids are eating and Marie is just drinking some wine and is clearly upset. She asks them about the woman in the office. And Kaylee says she hasn't seen her, but Tim has. And Tim says he saw her last night, but not in the office. She was on the stairs, and he says he thinks she lives in the glass. No, thank you. No, thank you. Not about that shit. So Marie then sends the kids upstairs. She's like, I don't fucking have time for this. And so she sends them upstairs and goes to investigate the office, but finds a notebook with the name Marisol written over and over.
Oh.
So, yikes. Marie is obviously distraught because her fears are confirmed that Alan's having an affair. And out of anger, Marie throws something at the wall next to the mirror, and a force suddenly just like enters her. And she looks in the mirror and sees herself, but it's not her reflection. So maybe not enters her as much as just like overcomes her, I guess. And so this alter Marie unbuttons her dress to find the scar on her stomach opening. And so her eyes turn white, and then Marie is screaming in front of the mirror and like tearing at her stomach when the kids find her. This poor woman. Oh my God. And like Katie Sackhoff is just, she's incredible in this. So the kids find her, and Tim approaches, and then she turns around and starts choking him, but you can see it in her face that she's upset and doesn't want to do it. So she's like straining against whatever force is making her do this. So she is overcome and like possessed by something. So the kids run and she chases them upstairs, but they lock themselves in a room. And then Ellen gets home to find her banging on the door, and then she turns on him. So she tries to attack him, but he holds on to her, strangling her to knock her out. Then the kids come out of the room, but he tells them to go back inside. He tries to dial 911. Then the lights flicker and voices take over, stemming from the Laster glass. And so he hangs up the phone and drags Marie away. So he is also under the glass's possession. We next see him carrying chains and a hammer to their room. Who has chains? Granted, I'm not a homeowner, but I don't think the common person just has some chains lying around.
Yeah, when he walked by with them, I was like, this is not going to be the endearing bedside manner.
No, he's not
No,
going to
it's
go take
not.
care of her in a fun way.
No.
So adult Kaylee snaps Tim out of the flashback, and they get back to the office, but as she turns on the computers, we see the lights flicker, and she's on the computer screen looking very ominous. It was a detail that I caught upon like third watch. I was like, what is that happening on the screen there? And so now we're back in the past. Alan is explaining to the kids that Marie is sick and can't be bothered. So stay clear of their room, but he will not say what she's sick with. So this is the typical, like, one of my parents has gone crazy and is holding my other parent hostage kind of scenario. Whatever one parent just starts to say, like, she's sick and that's it, don't bother her, red flags. Red flag. So he tells them that they can play in the office, though. So that's a change of pace. The lights flicker, and we're back in present day. Him and Kaylee go around to change out light bulbs that have gone out
Oh
and are
god.
snacking on apples. I hate this part too.
Oh god.
Kaylee flashes back to seeing Tim spaced out in the living room and then her father bringing food upstairs. And so when she looks back, Tim is gone and she eats her apple, but it's not the like after replacing the light bulb, it goes out again, so she replaces it again and she picks up what she thinks is the apple and bites into the fucking light bulb and takes a piece out of her mouth. I can't. I fucking
And you
in
know
no
what?
universe will I eat glass, but it's still a fear of mine.
Same here.
I
Same
just
here.
I
And
can't. I can't do
I
it.
knew it was coming. I knew it was coming because there's the one shot where she puts the apple down and you see the light bulb just gently move. And I was like, no, no, yes, I know it's coming, but no.
Yeah, and that's the fucking art of distraction and where
Yep.
Flanagan plays it so beautifully because we do see Kaylee. We don't see her bite into the light bulb. We just hear the glass kind of falling to the ground and she's holding it.
Mhm.
She takes the piece out of her mouth, but then we cut back to Tim talking to her and she's just pulling pieces of apple out of her mouth. So the glass is making her think these different things and Flanagan is also making it so believable. Like it just, yeah. And like, yeah, I can't. It's just, it makes me.
I know.
So, I mean, hey, there's a lot of relief when it cuts back and she's just got like holding
Yeah.
this like
Yeah.
mush in her hand. It's like, oh, good. But yeah, so we now see younger Tim is watching TV and it kind of goes staticky, but we see screaming faces through the static and there's banging coming from upstairs. And then we see that there's no food in the house. So Kaylee tells her dad to go shopping, but he's just staring into the glass. He's in some kind of trance again. So she goes to check on Marie herself. Whew. Marie,
Mm.
this poor girl, she finds Marie chained up to the wall next to their bed and covered in blood. When Kaylee tries to tell her dad to call a doctor, he scolds them, grounds them, and tells them to get out. Great. So Kaylee and Tim are kind of going through the phone book and she's calling doctors, but she says that every one of them that they've called has the same voice and tells them to have their father call. So clearly something is fucking. The glass is fucking with every potential, route of assistance they might try to call on. So Kaylee goes to get her neighbor, and the neighbor comes over, and Alan just kind of talks his way out of it. Like, teenagers, am I right? But we see that, like, he's kind of leaned up against the door, and he's got one hand behind the door, so it can't be seen by the neighbor who's standing outside. And all of his fingernails are gone, and his fingers are all bloody. And there's just blood smeared all over the walls. Like, it is not cool. But he talks his way out of it and the neighbor leaves. So Kaylee says that they'll have to get really brave. And we see adult Tim watching the memory unfold. So he's slowly kind of remembering these events that are leading up to the murders. Back in the office, we see Kaylee standing in front of the mirror as the timer for the big blade hammer is about to go off. But she wakes up and like runs over to reset it. And her reaction is just to like laugh at the mirror and be like, nice try.
Don't taunt it.
Girl, don't taunt it. What are you doing? This is insane. God. So another alarm goes off and the lights start flickering and then they just completely go out. And adult Tim is exploring his memory of his younger self experiencing similar things. So it's almost like the younger version of himself can see his older self. It's very interesting how they're kind of placing the past and the present together. So now completely without power, Kaylee goes around the house setting up battery powered lights and they get flashes of the past mixed into kind of the mess, but she knows it's not real. So Tim goes into the office to ask his dad to fix the lights, or young Tim, I should say. And when he opens the door, a creepy ghost woman is hovering over Alan and scares Tim and runs back to his room. That creepy ghost woman, you might recognize her, And so Kaylee finds broken vases all over the floor, but she's very smart in this instance and uses her phone camera to kind of see through and see that the floor is actually clean and the vases are all just a hallucination. So she's kind of walking around through the dark house, and then she turns around and gets jump scared by the ghost of her mother, and then stabs her mother in the neck with a piece of broken pottery, only to find out that she actually stabbed her fiance in the neck, and now he's dead. Because she didn't answer her phone, so he came over to check on her because of her psychotic brother. R.I.P. Michael, I guess.
Right. Because this whole movie up to this point, right, with what just happened with the apple, we've been set up to question it.
Yeah.
I literally was saying to my TV out loud, no, this didn't just happen. No.
And you were right to question it, because Tim's like, well, no, because she's like, wait, do you see him? Is he actually there? Because, like, he's not supposed to be there. And Tim's like, no, I see him. But then Kaylee gets a call from Michael, and she answers it, and it's his voice, and he's just, hey, just checking in like I'm supposed to. So we're now just like, is this fucker alive or dead? What is going on? Is this phone call real? We've seen that the glass fucks with the phones, but could it not be? What's real, what's not? So we see that previously she had kicked a vase and broke it. And then she uses her camera and confirms that Michael is actually dead. She killed him by accident. Like, he's fully dead. So she starts freaking out. And Tim takes her outside and calls 911 to send an ambulance. And he tells her they just need to stay outside because of the kill switch. He's like, you planned for this. It's fine. But then all of a sudden, all of the lights come back on in the house. And it gave very like, come play with me. Come back. Come back, play. So then they see themselves inside, standing in front of the mirror, waiting for the kill switch to go off. So the two of them are like, is that us in there, or are we out here? Like, what is real? What is real? We don't know. And so he calls 911 again, and this time the voice distorts, telling them that they have to have their father call. So he tells her what she told him years ago. They'll have to get really brave. Because, yeah, so then you're like, well, did the first 911 call even go through? Like, what is even happening? In the past, Alan is now standing against the mirror, then loads his gun, and young Tim sees this, and so him and Kaylee prepare to smash the mirror. They know this isn't their parents' doing. Like, they're both well aware that, like, the mirror is the source of all of this bad. And we cut to present day, and Kaylee and Tim re-enter the office, and the lights go out to reveal this ghost woman standing next to them by the mirror. And it's Marisol! Kate Siegel! Yay! It's a play! And Kaylee's like, it's not real. Then we see Tim young again, and he rips himself from Kaylee to go run and hide. Then we cut, and we see Marie chewing and eating broken pottery. And Alan approaches her and then holds the gun to her head. But instead of shooting, he lets her loose. So it's like, well, that's worse. Because what do you mean? What do you mean letting her loose?
And her run.
Fuck.
Her run is so fucking scary.
So scary. I can't. So after letting Marie loose, older Kaylee and Tim are now hiding in the bathroom, and she asks if he's gone. So Kaylee's been being taunted by Alan, I'm pretty sure. And when older Tim opens the door, their mother is standing outside, and it flashes back to young Kaylee and Tim at this point. So they're being like tormented by their own memories, but also the glass is just reinforcing that. And young Kaylee says, okay, I'm going to open the door and you're going to run no matter what. So she tells Tim, like, you just go and you foot to the pavement, go. So they go to run. And Kaylee armed with a golf club, and their mom attacks by the stairs. Like, they're running and just seeing her spot them, and like you said, running after them. Oh my God. And Kaylee fends her off while Tim runs downstairs. So Kaylee actually makes it out of the house by jumping from the second-story window, but Tim is still inside. So from outside, Kaylee sees the ghosts of the mirror's victims in the windows of their house, and it's so cool. And they've all got the reflection, like the reflective bright eyes. And older Tim is hiding from the ghost of his father, complete with the white glowing eyes. And he just keeps repeating, it's not real. Then his dad pulls out the gun and shoots. And with that, we cut to outside, and Kaylee sees the flash of the gun. She takes a breath for courage and re-enters the house. So we're now with older Kaylee. Older Kaylee sees Michael's ghost in the office, so he's now been claimed by the glass. So he's got the bright, shiny eyes, and he's standing there all ghost-like. And back with young Kaylee, her mom comes to attack her and starts to choke her out, but then we see Marie's face kind of change, like she's seeing her daughter again, or seeing her daughter, and regains control of herself briefly, only for Alan to shoot her multiple times. The house then is filled with these ghosts, and the kids hide from Alan. And now we see this opening scene of him walking around the house with the gun while the kids go to smash the mirror. So they hit it with golf clubs, only to find that they're actually hitting the wall next to it. So the glass is very good at deflecting attacks. And so Alan comes into the office and points the gun at Kaylee. So we know that the gun is possessing him, and he calls himself the devil. And Kaylee then gets choked again, and Tim holds the gun to his dad. Alan is crying. He starts to cry and kneels down in front of Tim and nods. He says run, and then pulls the trigger on the gun himself, even though Tim was holding it. So clearly, as a last act, both of their parents were able to overcome the glass's influence to just like see their kids and buy them a chance to live. So it's really beautiful in that sense. And all of the ghosts now huddle around them, and their mouths do that like super wide open thing that's really creepy. And yeah, I forgot about that part. And I'm like, ooh, I hate that. I can't. The wide mouths are like, whoo, so creepy. And then we hear one of the alarms go off in present day. So as like their mouths start to open and the noise of them screaming gets louder and louder, it changes into the alarms going off in present day. It's such a cool cut. It's such a cool way to edit flowing from past to present. And it shakes us as well as Kaylee and Tim from the memory and hallucination. So Tim is sitting in front of the Laster glass alone, screaming that it isn't real. And Kaylee is stuck as her younger self in the office, and then she sees Marie in the glass and walks toward it to get embraced by her mom. So Tim, present day, he's sitting in front of the glass, kind of almost fetal position, just screaming, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. So he's having a terrible time. And Kaylee is still stuck in this hallucination as her younger self. And yeah, so she sees her mom and she just wants to be comforted by her mom, who's been missing from her life for the last days, and the last 2 weeks have been hell. So she starts approaching the glass to get a hug from her mom because she's a kid. And so older Tim sees the timer for the kill switch is almost up. And so he's like, all right, you know what? I'm calling this. I'm fucking done. Pulls the lever to set it off. And we hear the hammer come. Boom. We hear it hit, but it didn't sound right. Then we see that Kaylee was in front of the mirror and has been stabbed through the neck by her own invention. We see the flashback to the promise they made each other. When they were older, they'd destroy the glass for their parents. So sirens and police approach in the past and present, then older Kaylee dies. In the past, the police take their statements. In the present, Tim is arrested for murdering his sister. The police review the footage and watch him pull the lever with Kaylee clearly standing directly in front of the glass. And young Tim panics while he's taken away. And along with that, older Tim panics while he's being taken away. And they're both screaming that it was the mirror. So we see the ghosts of his parents back then are now joined by present day Kaylee in the window. The glass is won and the movie ends.
Ugh.
I love when a horror movie maker is able to be like, no happy ending. Because how are you going to beat that thing? And I just love that at the end of the day, nothing that Kaylee could have done was going to prevent this. Like, the glass was always going to win. And I just thought it was such a cool, it's such a good movie with such a good twist as well. Because definitely first time watching, it did not even click in my head that Kaylee would have present day been in front of that mirror. Did not at all see that at all.
No, I thought that having their mother drawn to the front, I thought they were going to smash it and it was going to end. I did not expect that. There's a lot of different interpretations on the themes that are throughout this movie that really, I got to see through a very, poetic sense and look at it through, I guess, the deeper level of filmmaking. Not that I have any professional education or anything, but a couple of things that I noticed that I just wanted to chat about really quick. So with the fingernails, right? And the finger biting. So the proper terminology of what that is I'm not going to pronounce this right. Onychotillomania.
Okay.
Okay, it's a very long word. but it's defined as body focused, repetitive behavior involving compulsive picking, pulling, or tearing of the fingernails and toenails and surrounded skin, driven by anxiety and stress. So,
Me.
my first,
That's me.
yeah, right.
I do
but my
that.
but my first thought, like, just reflecting on that was, because Alan was obviously being influenced and obviously not in control of his own psyche,
Mhm.
was that his way of still showing us that he was present, right?
Right.
Picking his fingernails, being under so much stress, so that just a little tidbit of that. And then with Marie, and this hit so hard just from becoming a parent and wanting to specialize in women's health and meeting so many women on a daily basis, and I get to like hear their stories and everything. Like the whole C-section, the whole emphasis on her scar, and my god,
Yeah.
like losing her youth and having to confront that side of herself, like that being the target from the mirror,
Mhm.
right? Like, I'm going to present your deepest insecurities.
Yeah.
The burnt toast, being burnt out. I start thinking about postpartum. Oh, I could go on and on, but I just thought that those elements were so well done.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, on that note, it's a great segue. Like, to no one's surprise, Mike Flanagan has a lot more to say in this movie other than, wow, what a scary mirror, am I right? Like, he's got so much more to say. And it
Mhm.
very clearly, as we've talked about, portrays a story about both individual as well as shared traumas and the ways that people can cope with said trauma. Because it's very interesting. Usually we see these kinds of stories told with just one person in mind. And if it is more than one person, they usually are sympathetic towards one another. So to see it in this kind of a dynamic where they both went through the same thing, but both had very different upbringings after the fact and were both treated very
Mhm.
differently after the fact. It's very interesting to see how heavily that skews them on completely opposite sides of each other.
Yeah. Like the whole psychological processing, how they process. Obviously, Tim was thrown into a different
Mhm.
environment, but you have him who's wanting to try and make logical sense,
Right.
right? Make logical sense of it. And you have Kaylee who's like diving head first.
Mhm. Yeah, she's obsessive, she's dedicated, she's like, "This
Right.
is supernatural." He's like, "No, everything I've been taught actually tells me that
Yeah.
you need help, actually."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last note, of course, the very obvious supernatural power of a mirror
Mhm.
that is known throughout all cultures, and in the world of spirituality, a mirror is looked at as a portal. So there's some little witchy advice. Don't position your mirror facing your bed when you're sleeping, and don't have it face a window. Little anyways.
Good to know. And speaking of mirrors as well, so I did a little bit of researchy for mirrors. So as kind of you and I talked about earlier, Oculus is Latin for eye, and mirrors can
Mhm.
be portals in many belief systems. So, for example, like Bloody Mary game, they're portals to other realms, trapping spirits, etc. So, to quote this Ancient Origins article that we'll also link, it says in Victorian England, it was common practice to cover all mirrors in a house after a death to prevent the spirit of the deceased from becoming confused and remaining in the house rather than moving on to the afterlife. And you can kind of relate this also to in the Jewish religion. When they sit Shiva, they cover the mirrors.
Mm.
So, speaking of supernatural mirrors, I found a very famous one that's in Louisiana. And I'm like, well, I really want to go to Louisiana at some point. So, I'd love to go see this supernatural mirror. It's located at the Myrtles Plantation. And it's built in the
Cool.
plantation was built in 1796 and is considered one of the most haunted locations in the US. I feel like they say that about a lot of places, but
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah,
so
but
but in the South
woo!
specifically,
Yeah, yeah.
the legend comes from the 19th century. This family called the Woodruffs owned the plantation, and the quote local lore says, to quote Supernatural, that a slave poisoned the family, killing the wife Sarah and two of the kids, and their spirits were trapped in a mirror not correctly covered after their death. And many visitors report seeing handprints or ghosts in the mirror. And the handprints are especially interesting because it's even after the mirror has been cleaned. you will see handprints on it. So
Mm.
it's very interesting. And a lot of people report getting pictures of the smudges, handprints, ghosts in the mirror, things like that. So it's very, very cool. And kind of on the less supernatural spectrum of things and more kind of based in reality when it comes to Oculus is that family annihilators are real and are not new to horror media whatsoever. So, you know, the supernatural occurrences in Oculus are certainly very real scenarios that have caused people to go off the deep end. Like the build up and kind of if you take the supernatural element out of this, it really is just this man that annihilates his family. And it's
Yep.
unfortunately something that is not uncommon, and whether it's in horror media or real life. So I just thought that was very interesting and also is something that Tim also brings up in the movie. It's like, yeah, dad killed mom and tried to kill us. That's not something new. It's not
Mhm.
supernatural. So, the bigger picture of it all is Oculus definitely set the groundwork for Mike's future projects, and they really focusing in on family dynamics, especially a lot of family dynamics to come, and how the supernatural can play a part in fueling certain dynamics within those families. So, some certain trivia that I thought was kind of cool about this movie. It was filmed in 24 days, which I thought was insane.
Wow.
And we're going to keep our eye out because Mike Flanagan places the Lasser Glass as an Easter egg in a few of his other projects to come. So we'll be making sure to point those
Oh.
out when they come up. Uh, and I'm very excited to keep an eye out now that I'm like more aware of it, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, Oculus, man, I love this movie. It is so good. I had such a good time with it. I love rewatching it. I also remembered I also met Karen Gillan at a Comic-Con. She was also very nice. And yeah, we're on the start of a really fun journey, everybody.
We
It's gonna
are.
be
We
good.
are.
So, our next movie, I love this one. The next movie we're gonna be watching is from 2016, starring Kate Siegel, and it is a movie called Hush. Have you
Oh.
seen this?
No, I've not.
Rachel.
Yeah, I get to experience it for the first time with you. Yeah.
I'm
Uh-uh.
excited. This movie, it is I'll say it's a home invasion movie, but
Love
it's
it.
so much more
Love it.
than that. And
Mhm.
you will for sure recognize certain things that will be coming up because you've watched all of his more recent series, right? Like after Hill
Yeah.
House,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much you've seen all that.
Yep, I've seen all of them.
Okay, so you will for sure recognize you'll pick up on some things that are in Hush.
Oh, I'm
Which is
excited.
which is just crazy because he references things that don't come up again for like 5-6 years, and it blows my mind whether he planned it or not. I don't know, but it's fucking great. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for Hush. We are first going to be coming back with the next Hunger Games, Catching Fire. I finished the
Uh,
book. It was so good. I know we've only read 2 of the books so far, but favorite book, favorite movie. It's gonna be hard to top it. It's my favorite. I love it.
and also, I know I sent you one earlier, all of the Hunger Games edits that are now circulating because we're coming up on, Sunrise
Mm,
is releasing in September. All these edits are fucking painful, but I love them so
I
much.
am
They're so
avoiding
good.
I'm avoiding anything to do with Sunrise on the Reaping as much as I
Oh, yeah,
can.
no, no, these are just,
No, but
Hunger Games
yes, the
edits.
one you sent me
Yeah.
earlier, first of all, rude.
Jaw
Fucking
on the
rude.
floor. I watched it like 5 times. I was like, "This hurts," but
It's
that
too
fucking
good.
transition.
It's too good. These TikTok editors must be stopped, but please not really because they're really
Please
good.
don't.
So thank you so much for hanging out with us for Absentia and Oculus. I hope you had a great time. We cannot wait to see you guys again for Hunger Games Catching Fire and then Hush. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you spooky bitches later.